My husband stole $180,000 from our daughter's college fund to run away with his 26-year-old mistress. My name is Olivia Smith. I'm 38 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will show you exactly how justice arrives when you have undeniable evidence and a 12-year-old tech genius on your side. What Emma, my daughter, did next made the FBI Denver office call it the most brilliant civilian evidence collection of the year. Mark thought being a Fortune 500 CFO made him untouchable. He thought wrong. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. It all started on that fateful Monday morning when I discovered our bank account was completely empty. 15 years. That's how long I'd been married to Mark Smith, chief financial officer at one of Denver's Fortune 500 companies. 15 years of hearing how my work as an ICU nurse was just cleaning up after people, while his work actually moved markets. I'd grown used to the dismissive comments at dinner parties where he'd introduce me as Olivia, she works at the hospital, before quickly steering conversation to his latest merger or acquisition. Our daughter Emma was different. At 11, she'd been recognized by Google Scholar for her research project on digital forensics. Her IQ tested at 145, and she'd taught herself Python programming at age 8. Mark would brag about her genius to his colleagues, taking credit for superior genes, but at home, he barely noticed her achievements unless they made him look good. The warning signs had been there for months. Late nights at the office became overnight emergency meetings. His phone, once carelessly left around, now never left his pocket. The smell of unfamiliar perfume, something expensive and floral that definitely wasn't mine. And those whispered phone calls at 2 a.m. that he'd take in his home office, door locked. Emma noticed too. She'd started leaving me little notes. Mom, who's Dad talking to at 2 a.m.? And why does Dad delete his text messages every night? I dismissed them as a child's imagination running wild. After all, Mark controlled everything: our finances, our investments, our future. He'd hand me a credit card for household expenses like I was a child receiving an allowance. "You're a nurse, Olivia," he'd say whenever I asked about our accounts. "Don't try to understand complex financial instruments. That's what I'm here for." I signed every paper he put in front of me, trusting the man I'd loved for 15 years. Our financial arrangement had been simple, according to Mark. He managed everything: 401k, investments, savings, even Emma's college fund. That fund held $180,000, built over 12 years from my mother's inheritance after she passed from cancer. Mom had specifically wanted it for Emma's education, and I'd watched it grow with compound interest, the one bright spot in our increasingly cold marriage. Investment portfolios require constant optimization, Mark would lecture me whenever I asked for details. You wouldn't understand the derivatives and hedging strategies involved. The condescension dripped from every word. I had access to one checking account for groceries and Emma's activities. Everything else required his signature. Then came Jessica. 26 years old, Harvard MBA, hired as Mark's executive assistant 6 months ago. Blonde, polished, and fluent in the language of wealth Mark worshipped. She'd appear at our house for urgent work matters on weekends, her designer heels clicking on our hardwood floors while I served coffee in my scrubs, having just finished a 12-hour shift. Jessica understands portfolio diversification, Mark mentioned one evening, comparing her to me without even trying to hide it. Not everyone can grasp advanced financial concepts. Jessica would smile sweetly, touching Mark's arm as they reviewed reports that apparently couldn't wait until Monday. The technology in our house started acting strange around the same time. Emma, ever the detective, noticed unusual traffic on our home router, data packets routing to servers in the Cayman Islands at odd hours. "Mom, someone's using a VPN to hide financial transactions," she told me one night, showing me logs I didn't understand. "And they're doing it from Dad's computer." I should have listened. Instead, I told her to focus on her science fair project and stop snooping. After all, Mark was a financial executive. Offshore servers were probably normal, right? Emma wasn't just smart. She was exceptional in ways that made other parents uncomfortable. At 12, she'd already won the National Science Fair with a project on digital forensics and data recovery in cloud systems. The judges said her understanding rivaled graduate students. She'd built her own computer at 9, wrote her first encryption program at 10, and now spent evenings teaching herself about network security for fun. Mom, I backed up all of Dad's emails, she mentioned casually one evening while I was making dinner. Just in case of emergency. You know, like if his laptop crashes. I barely registered it, focused on not burning the chicken while Mark criticized my seasoning choices from the living room. That Thursday, my college friend Rachel Morrison came for dinner. She'd become a financial crimes attorney, specializing in white-collar fraud. We'd stayed close despite our different paths, she in her power suits arguing cases, me in scrubs saving lives. Something's off about Mark, Rachel said quietly, while he was taking another mysterious call. The way he talks about money, those offshore companies he mentions, Olivia, I've seen this pattern before. He's just stressed about quarterly reports, I defended him, the loyal wife to the end. Rachel handed me her business card. I know people at the FBI Denver office. If you ever need anything, anything at all, call me. She paused, watching Mark through the kitchen window as he paced the backyard, gesticulating wildly on his phone. And maybe ask Emma to keep those email backups she mentioned, just in case. The router logs Emma had shown me weeks ago suddenly seemed less innocent. She'd highlighted patterns, regular transfers every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 a.m., always to the same IP addresses in known tax havens. Mom, this is exactly what we studied in my forensics project. It's textbook money laundering behavior. Singapore conference for 2 weeks, Mark announced that Sunday, not even looking up from his phone. Critical merger negotiations. Can't be delayed. Jessica had coincidentally requested urgent personal leave the same day, according to Emma, who'd somehow accessed the company's public calendar. My daughter showed me her laptop screen. 2 tickets booked under Mr. and Mrs. Thompson from Denver to Nassau, Bahamas. First class. Departing Tuesday. Mom, that's not Singapore, Emma said, her 12-year-old voice steady and serious. And Jessica's Instagram shows her shopping for bikinis with the hashtag #IslandGetaway. My stomach churned, but I pushed down the suspicion. Mark traveled constantly. This was normal. Everything was fine. Monday night, I heard the safe in his office close with its distinctive beep. Mark never let me have the combination. Financial documents that require security clearance, he'd explained. By Tuesday morning, he was gone before dawn, leaving only a note. Emergency early departure. Will call from Singapore. I went to make Emma breakfast and found her already at her laptop. Mom, Dad withdrew $50,000 in cash yesterday. The bank sent a notification to the family account. She turned the screen toward me. And his passport is gone from the safe. How do you know what's in the safe? The same way I know he took the emergency credit cards and Mom's jewelry from Grandma. She pulled up a video on her phone, Mark's office, filmed from the smoke detector. I installed a camera last month, for security. My hands shook as I reached for my phone. The banking app required facial recognition. Mark had set it up that way, for security. But when it finally opened, my worst fears materialized. The notification sat there like a death sentence. Large withdrawal completed, $180,000 from Emma Smith College Fund. If this wasn't you, contact us immediately. $180,000, 12 years of saving, sacrificing, and planning, gone in a single forged signature. My mother's dying wish for Emma's education evaporated like morning mist. I called Mark's phone with trembling fingers. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. My knees buckled. I sank onto the kitchen floor, still clutching my phone when the email arrived. Mark's personal account. Subject line. It's over. Olivia, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. 15 years of pretending you were enough is over. You're a nurse. You clean bedpans and take orders. Jessica understands my vision, my ambitions. She's an equal, not a burden. I've taken what's mine, including the funds. Emma's smart enough for scholarships anyway. Don't try to find me. You won't. The attached photo showed them at the airport, Jessica wearing a massive diamond ring, both holding champagne glasses in the first-class lounge. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun as I stared at our wedding photo on the wall. Young, hopeful Olivia in her grandmother's dress, trusting a man who just stole our daughter's future. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to disappear into the floor. "Mom!" Emma's voice cut through my spiral. She knelt beside me, surprisingly calm for a 12-year-old whose college fund just vanished. "Mom, look at me." "Emma, I'm so sorry. Your college money." "Mom, I've been preparing for this." She helped me stand, her small hands steady. "Remember my forensics project? I've been collecting evidence since January." "Evidence? Emma, what?" She opened her laptop on the kitchen counter, revealing a folder labeled Evidence Dad with dozens of subfolders. Financial transfers, recorded calls, email chains, Jessica communications. 2 gigabytes of data, Mom. Everything we need to bury him. Emma clicked through folders with the efficiency of a seasoned investigator. 47 recorded phone calls between Dad and Jessica, she said, pulling up an audio file. This one's from last Tuesday. Mark's voice filled the kitchen. Forging Olivia's signature is easy. She signs whatever I put in front of her, too trusting and too stupid to ask questions. Jessica's giggle followed. And the college fund? Emma won't need it where we're going. Besides, Olivia makes 40 grand a year cleaning bedpans. She couldn't afford college anyway. My hands clenched into fists. Emma clicked another folder, screenshots of bank transfers. He's been moving money to 5 shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Look at the names: MJS Holdings, Paradise Consulting, Thompson Ventures. All registered in the last 6 months. How did you? Dad used our shared cloud storage, Mom. He forgot I had admin access from when I helped set it up. She pulled up another document. This is an email thread with Jessica from 3 months ago. Subject: Project Paradise. They're discussing washing $2.3 million from his company through fake consulting invoices. Each revelation hit like a physical blow. The man I'd shared a bed with for 15 years wasn't just a cheater, he was a criminal. Emma, this is... How long have you known? Since January. When Rachel came to dinner and mentioned financial crimes, I started paying attention. Dad's patterns matched everything in my forensics research. She opened one final folder. FBI contact. You contacted the FBI? Not yet, but I sent everything to Rachel 2 weeks ago. She said to wait until Dad made his move. Emma's young face hardened with determination. Mom, he stole from us, but he also stole from his company. That's federal crime. That's prison time. I know this is shocking, a 12-year-old gathering evidence like a seasoned detective. If this story makes your blood boil, hit that like button and comment below. Do you think Emma's evidence will be enough for the FBI to act? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, because what happens next in that corporate boardroom where Mark once humiliated me? It's going to be absolutely explosive. Now, let me tell you how we mobilized the FBI. Rachel arrived within an hour, her silver BMW screeching into our driveway. She walked in wearing full lawyer mode, power suit, briefcase, and an expression that could freeze hell. "Show me everything," she commanded, and Emma complied, walking her through each piece of evidence with the precision of a prosecutor. Rachel's eyes widened with each revelation. This isn't just fraud, Olivia. This is racketeering, money laundering, tax evasion. Your husband is looking at 15 to 20 years federal prison. Ex-husband, I corrected, my voice finding strength. Rachel pulled out her phone. Agent Thompson, it's Rachel Morrison. Remember the case I mentioned? We have enough for RICO charges. She paused, listening. Yes, 2.3 million. The suspect is currently in the Bahamas, but has a return ticket. Another pause. The quarterly board meeting? Perfect. She hung up and turned to us. Mark's company holds their quarterly meeting in 72 hours. The entire C-suite, board of directors, and senior management, about 200 people. Agent Thompson says if we can get Mark to confess in front of witnesses, they can arrest him on the spot. But how do we get in? I asked. Emma pulled up something on her laptop. Mom still has spousal access to the building. The badge is active until the divorce is final. And Mark will be there? Rachel smiled, sharp and predatory. Oh, he'll be there. He's presenting the quarterly financial report. The CEO specifically requested his attendance via email yesterday. She showed us her phone. My contact in corporate confirmed it. Mark doesn't know we know he's coming back early from his Singapore trip. This is insane, I breathed. This is justice, Rachel corrected. Emma, can you create a presentation? Something that clearly shows the money trail? Emma's fingers were already flying across the keyboard. Give me 2 hours. Emma's investigation revealed a web of deception that made my stomach turn. Mom, look at this, she said, pulling up a complex spreadsheet. Dad created 5 shell companies: MJS Holdings, Paradise Consulting, Thompson Ventures, Lighthouse Financial, and Crystal Advisory. Each one billed his company for consulting services that never happened. The numbers were staggering. 800,000 in fake invoices over 3 years, each transaction carefully structured to stay just under the $10,000 reporting threshold. He thought he was being clever, Emma explained, but the pattern is obvious when you aggregate the data. And Jessica? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. 15% commission on every fraudulent transaction. Emma showed me encrypted messages between them. She knew exactly what she was doing. Look, she even suggested using cryptocurrency to move some funds. Here's her wallet address. Rachel leaned over Emma's shoulder, taking notes rapidly. This is a RICO case for sure. The FBI is going to have a field day. She pulled up her phone, texting rapidly. I'm sending this to Agent Thompson now. They'll want to verify the digital signatures. Emma clicked another tab. I also found this. Dad's contract with the company includes a morality clause and a specific provision about fiduciary responsibility. If he's convicted of financial crimes, they can claw back 5 years of bonuses. How much is that? $3.7 million. The room went silent. Mark hadn't just stolen from us. He'd risked everything for greed and a 26-year-old MBA. There's more, Emma said quietly. I found correspondence about a life insurance policy Dad took out on me last year. $1 million, with Jessica as the secondary beneficiary after him. My blood went cold. He took out life insurance on our daughter? Rachel's face darkened. We need to move fast. This is bigger than we thought. The FBI field office in downtown Denver felt surreal, like stepping into a TV crime drama, except this was my life. Agent Thompson turned out to be a tall black woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. She'd brought 2 forensic accountants who looked like they ate spreadsheets for breakfast. Mrs. Smith, what your daughter compiled here is extraordinary, Agent Thompson said, reviewing Emma's files on multiple screens. We've been investigating similar patterns at Mark's company, but this connects all the dots. The forensic accountants verified each transaction, cross-referencing with federal databases. The voice recordings are admissible, one confirmed after running audio analysis. Voice pattern matches Mark Smith with 99.7% certainty. Can you freeze the stolen money? I asked. Already in motion. We've traced $500,000 to an account in Nassau. The Bahamian authorities are cooperative. The rest is still in domestic accounts we can lock down immediately upon arrest. Agent Thompson pulled up a timeline. But here's our problem. Mark has a ticket from Nassau to Dubai in 5 days. The UAE doesn't have an extradition treaty with us. So we have one shot, Rachel summarized. Exactly. The board meeting is our window. We need him to confess in front of witnesses, on record. Can you get him to admit to the forgery and fraud? Emma raised her hand like she was in school. I can help with that. Dad always underestimates me. If Mom confronts him about the college fund, His ego won't let him deny it. He'll want to gloat. Agent Thompson studied my 12-year-old daughter with newfound respect. "You've thought this through." "I've had 6 months to plan," Emma replied simply. "We'll have agents in the lobby and parking garage. The moment he confesses, we move in." She handed me a business card. "My direct line. If anything feels wrong, you call immediately." "Your spouse access badge is still active," Rachel confirmed, looking at the corporate security system on her laptop. Mark never thought to revoke it. Typical arrogance. We sat in Rachel's home office, mapping out the approach. Emma had created a devastating PowerPoint titled Financial Integrity Alert, Internal Fraud Detection, that looked professional enough to be an official audit report. Each slide built the case methodically: shell companies, fake invoices, money transfers, all with Mark's digital signature. "The quarterly meeting starts at 10 a.m. sharp," Rachel said, pulling up the agenda. "Mark presents at 10:15. You'll need to interrupt before he finishes. The CEO, William Harrison, is a stickler for ethics. He fired his own brother-in-law for expense fraud. He'll give you the floor if you mention financial misconduct." Emma pulled up Instagram on her phone. "Jessica just posted from the Bahamas. Look." The image showed her hand sporting a massive diamond ring, captioned, "Paradise found with my forever love, Hatch Island life Nashat new beginnings." The ring had to be worth $50,000. Emma's college money transformed into Jessica's jewelry. My jaw clenched. "Mom, you need to see this." Emma switched screens. "Dad just posted on LinkedIn about crushing Q3 targets and exceptional team performance. He's back in Denver. The arrogance is unbelievable." Rachel drafted a backup plan. "If security tries to stop you, I'll be in the parking garage with a court injunction for emergency financial disclosure. Agent Thompson will have 3 teams ready: lobby, garage, and street level." "What if he runs?" I asked. "Where's he going to go? The moment you start that presentation, Emma's uploading everything to the SEC whistleblower portal. Even if he makes it to the elevator, his assets are frozen, his passport flagged, and every law enforcement agency in Colorado will have his photo." I fingered the spouse badge. This piece of plastic would be my key to justice. The night before the confrontation, I couldn't stop shaking. My hands trembled as I laid out my only Navy suit, the one Mark bought me last Christmas, telling me I needed to look presentable at his company events. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Mom?" Emma found me sitting on my bedroom floor at 2 a.m. surrounded by printed evidence. "You okay? What if I freeze? What if security throws me out before I can speak? What if—" "Mom, stop!" She sat beside me, this 12-year-old with an old soul. "You save lives every day in the ICU. You've performed CPR while families scream at you. You've stayed calm when patients code. This is just another emergency. Except this time, you're saving us." She was right. I'd faced death dozens of times in my scrubs. I could face my ex-husband in a suit. "Besides," Emma added, pulling up her laptop, "look what I found." It was an email Mark sent to Jessica 3 months ago. "Olivia is too weak and stupid to ever fight back. She doesn't have the spine for confrontation." My trembling stopped. Rage crystallized into determination. Rachel texted at 6 a.m. "Judge signed the emergency disclosure order. FBI in position. Your badge was scanned entering the garage yesterday, still active. Green light." I practiced my opening line in the mirror. "Mr. Harrison, I have evidence of internal fraud that's cost this company millions." Emma hugged me at the door. "Dad always said you were just a nurse. Show him what a nurse can do when someone threatens her child." Rachel would keep Emma safe at her office, monitoring everything through my phone's recording app. Agent Thompson confirmed 3 teams were ready. I drove to Mark's company building, the one I'd visited dozens of times as the little wife. Today would be different. Today, I wasn't asking for permission. My phone buzzed as I parked in the garage. Unknown number, international prefix. "Stop now or Emma will regret it. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Jessica's voice, trying to sound threatening but cracking with panic. My maternal instinct flared. If you touch my daughter, I'm in the Bahamas, you idiot. But Mark has connections, people who can make problems disappear. Back off, take the loss, and everyone stays safe. I screenshot the threat and forwarded it to Agent Thompson. Her response was immediate. Recording everything. This is witness intimidation. Jessica just added 5 years to her sentence. Emma is safe with Rachel and 2 agents. Another text, this time from Mark. Olivia, you're making a mistake. Walk away now and I'll return half the college fund. This is my final offer. Half. He was trying to negotiate after stealing everything. I texted back. See you in the boardroom. My phone rang immediately. Mark's voice, for the first time in 5 days, slithered through the speaker. You stupid bitch. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I'll bury you in legal fees. I'll make sure you never see Emma again. Mark, I interrupted, my voice steady as when I called time of death on patients. You forgot something. I'm recording this call. You just threatened me, which Agent Thompson of the FBI is listening to right now. You also forgot that Emma inherited my mother's intelligence, not your arrogance. See you in 15 minutes. I hung up and checked my appearance in the mirror. Navy suit pressed, evidence folder in hand, spouse badge clipped to my jacket. A text from Emma. Mom, he just entered the building. Conference room 4201. I'm watching the security feeds with Agent Thompson. You've got this. My little genius had somehow accessed the building's security cameras. Of course she had. The elevator to the 42nd floor felt endless. Each floor that ticked by hammered my heart harder. When the doors opened, I could hear Mark's voice booming from the conference room. Q3 exceeded all projections. Our financial strategies have yielded a 17% increase in net revenue. I peered through the glass wall. There he was, my husband of 15 years, standing at the head of a massive conference table in his $5,000 Armani suit, laser pointer in hand, commanding the room like he hadn't just stolen our daughter's future. The CEO, William Harrison, sat taking notes. 200 senior staff filled the room, some standing against the walls. Mark clicked through his slides, each one a lie built on stolen money. Our consulting partnerships have been particularly fruitful, he said, and I nearly laughed. Those partnerships were his shell companies. Security noticed me. A young guard approached. Ma'am, this is a restricted floor. I held up my spouse badge. Olivia Smith, Mark Smith's wife. I have urgent information for Mr. Harrison regarding financial misconduct. The guard hesitated, speaking into his radio. Through the glass, I saw Mark pause mid-sentence, his eyes finding mine. The color drained from his face. Let her in, Harrison's assistant suddenly appeared. Mr. Harrison received an anonymous tip this morning about financial irregularities. He's been expecting someone to come forward. Emma, my brilliant daughter, had sent the CEO just enough information to prime him for this moment. Mark tried to continue his presentation, but his voice wavered. As I was saying, our partnerships. I opened the door. 200 heads turned. The room fell silent. Mr. Harrison? I said, my voice carrying the same authority I used when directing trauma teams. I need 5 minutes of your time. It's about the $2.3 million missing from your company's accounts. This is it. The moment everything changes. I'm standing in a room with 200 witnesses, my criminal husband 10 feet away, and the FBI waiting in the lobby. What would you do in this situation? Comment justice if you think Mark deserves what's coming, or mercy if you believe in second chances. Please hit that like button and share this story with anyone who needs to hear that standing up to abuse is possible. Now, let me tell you how I destroyed Mark with his own arrogance. This is my wife, Mark said quickly, forcing a laugh that fooled no one. She's been under tremendous stress. Olivia, we should discuss this privately. No. William Harrison stood, his presence commanding immediate attention. If there's financial misconduct in my company, I want to hear it. Mrs. Smith, please continue. Mark stepped toward me. Olivia's been struggling with mental health issues. She doesn't understand. I understand perfectly. I connected my laptop to the presentation system. Emma's PowerPoint replacing Mark's lies on the screen. I understand that you created 5 shell companies. I understand that you've stolen $2.3 million through fraudulent consulting fees. And I understand that you forged my signature to drain our daughter's college fund. Gasps rippled through the room. The CFO, Mark's boss, stood up sharply. Mark, what is she talking about? Is she? She's lying. She's bitter about our divorce and… I clicked to the next slide. MJS Holdings, incorporated in the Cayman Islands, January 2024. Paradise Consulting, February 2024. Thompson Ventures, March 2024. Each name appeared with incorporation documents bearing Mark's digital signature. Recognize these, Mark? You should. You've been billing them for services that don't exist. Harrison's face darkened. Mark, sit down. Now. But Mark remained standing, his face cycling through panic, rage, and calculation. This is illegally obtained information. It's not admissible. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, everything was legally accessed through our shared family cloud storage. Our 12-year-old daughter found it all, the same daughter whose college fund you stole. The general counsel was already on his phone, likely calling legal. The room buzzed with whispers. Mrs. Smith, Harrison said, his voice deadly calm, do you have proof of these allegations? I smiled for the first time in days. I have 47 recorded phone calls, $800,000 in fake invoices, and FBI agent Thompson waiting in your lobby. I need 5 minutes to save your company from a scandal that will make headlines nationwide, I announced, my voice steady despite 200 eyes boring into me. Mark lunged forward. Security, remove her. Sit down. Harrison's command cracked like a whip. Mrs. Smith, you have the floor. I clicked through Emma's presentation, each slide a nail in Mark's coffin. January through March, $800,000 in consulting fees paid to companies that exist only on paper. April through June, another $700,000. Every invoice approved by Mark Smith, your CFO. The room was so quiet I could hear the air conditioning humming. Mark's boss, the senior CFO, had gone pale. Mark, these are the partnerships you reported as strategic wins? She's setting me up, Mark's voice cracked. This is a vindictive ex-wife trying to… I played the first recording. Mark's voice filled the room. The beauty of shell companies is that nobody questions consulting fees. As long as I approve them, they go through. Olivia's too stupid to notice, and the board trusts me completely. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. One woman in the corner was recording everything on her phone. That's deep fake technology, Mark stammered. Really? I clicked to the next slide. A flowchart Emma created showing money moving from the company to the shells to Mark's personal accounts. Then how do you explain these wire transfers? Each one just under the federal reporting limit. Classic structuring to avoid detection. The general counsel stood up. Mr. Harrison, we need to contact law enforcement immediately. Already done, I said, pulling out Agent Thompson's card. The FBI has been investigating for weeks. They're downstairs with arrest warrants. Mark's face went from red to white. You called the FBI on me? You fucking… Language, Mr. Smith, Harrison said coldly. You're still in my boardroom, for now. I clicked methodically through each piece of evidence, my voice clinical and detached, the same tone I used when explaining fatal diagnoses to families. February 15th, $150,000 to Paradise Consulting for market analysis. Here's the invoice. The document appeared on screen. Signed digitally by Mark Smith. Except Paradise Consulting's registered address is a mailbox in the Cayman Islands, and their only employee is Jessica Walsh, Mark's executive assistant. Jessica's corporate headshot appeared next to her signature on the fraudulent documents. Several people who knew her gasped. March 22nd, $200,000 to Thompson Ventures for strategic planning. The company was incorporated 3 days before the invoice was submitted. The planning document delivered? I clicked again. Plagiarized entirely from a 2019 McKinsey report, available free online. The general counsel was typing furiously on his laptop, cross-referencing every transaction. His face grew more horrified with each confirmation. I played another recording. Mark's voice, smug and clear. The college fund was the easiest. Olivia signs anything I put in front of her. One forged signature, and $180,000 becomes our paradise fund. Emma can take out student loans like everyone else. A woman in the front row covered her mouth in disgust. He stole from his own child? April 10th, I continued. Mark accessed our daughter's trust fund, established by my deceased mother for Emma's education. This is the forged withdrawal slip. My signature, obviously traced, appeared on screen next to my actual signature for comparison. This is the real signature. Even a child could see the difference. Mark stood up suddenly. I don't have to listen to this assassination of my character. Yes, you do. Harrison's voice was ice. Security, ensure Mr. Smith remains in this room. Two guards moved to block the exits. Mark's composure finally shattered completely. This is a setup. Olivia's always been jealous of my success. She's just a nurse. She doesn't understand complex financial instruments. Just a nurse? I pulled up the next recording, my hand steady on the mouse. Let's hear what you really think about that. Mark's voice filled the room again, this time talking to Jessica. Olivia's too stupid to figure out what we're doing. She spends her days wiping asses and taking orders from doctors. She wouldn't recognize a financial crime if I wrote embezzlement on her forehead. That's why I married her, pretty enough to look good at events, dumb enough to never question me. Jessica's giggle followed. And I'm smart enough to help you get what you deserve. Every penny and more, baby. Olivia can keep her minimum wage nursing job while we live like royalty. The room erupted. Several women looked ready to physically attack Mark. Harrison held up his hand for silence. That's taken out of context. Mark was sweating through his Armani suit. Which part? I asked. The part where you called me stupid, or the part where you admitted to financial crimes with your mistress? My phone buzzed. Rachel's text. Jessica just arrested at Nassau Airport. She's already asking for a deal. By the way, I announced, Jessica Walsh was just arrested in the Bahamas. She's offering full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. Mark's legs seemed to give out. He collapsed into his chair. She wouldn't. We're engaged. With a ring bought using my daughter's college fund? I clicked to Jessica's Instagram post, the $50,000 diamonds sparkling on the screen. This ring, posted yesterday with the caption, Paradise found with my forever love? Guess Paradise is a federal holding cell now. William Harrison picked up his phone, his expression carved from granite. Get me the FBI, now. No need, I said, sending a text to Agent Thompson. They're already here. The conference room doors opened with dramatic precision. Agent Thompson entered with 4 federal agents, their badges visible, their faces all business. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Mark Smith? Agent Thompson's voice carried absolute authority. Mark tried one last desperate play. I want my lawyer. This is entrapment. My wife, ex-wife, she set me up. Mr. Smith, we have warrants for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and racketeering. Agent Thompson nodded to her team. We also have confirmation from the Bahamian authorities that Jessica Walsh is in custody and has agreed to full cooperation. Mark's face crumbled. He looked at me with naked desperation. Olivia, please, think about Emma. Think about what this will do to her. I am thinking about Emma, I replied, my voice steady as a heartbeat monitor. I'm thinking about how her brilliant evidence collection is going to put her father in federal prison where he belongs. I'm thinking about how she'll never have to hear you call her mother stupid again. I'm thinking about how the FBI called her work exceptional and MIT wants to publish her story. Stand up, Mr. Smith, Agent Thompson commanded. Mark stood on shaking legs. The agent pulled out handcuffs, the metal catching the light from the floor-to-ceiling windows. Mark Smith, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. The click of the handcuffs echoed through the silent room. 200 witnesses watched as the man who'd stolen millions was arrested in the very boardroom where he'd once been celebrated. "Olivia," Mark said one last time, "I'm sorry. I'm so—" "Save it for the judge." The handcuffs clicked shut with a sound that seemed to echo through my entire marriage. 15 years ending in cold metal and Miranda rights. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Agent Thompson's voice was methodical, practiced, as Mark's wrists were secured behind his back. William Harrison stood, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. "Mark Smith, you are terminated effective immediately. Security will clean out your office under FBI supervision. Your corporate accounts are frozen pending investigation." The room erupted in whispers, phones appearing despite corporate policy. Within seconds, Mark's arrest was being live-streamed by at least a dozen employees. I heard someone whisper, "This is going viral." Mark made one final attempt at manipulation, tears actually forming in his eyes. "Olivia, please, for Emma. She needs her father." "No," I said, standing straighter than I had in years. "She needs honesty, she needs justice. She needs to know that stealing has consequences, that lying has consequences, that betraying your family has consequences. You taught her that today, Mark, just not the way you intended." The general counsel approached me. "Mrs. Smith, on behalf of the company, I apologize. We should have caught this. The board will want to thank you personally." Several female employees started clapping, then more joined. By the time Agent Thompson led Mark toward the door, half the room was applauding. One woman called out, "Thank you for being brave." Mark turned back one last time, his expensive suit wrinkled, his face defeated. 2.3 million, Olivia. Do you understand what you've cost me?" "Everything," I replied simply. "Just like you cost Emma her college fund, except she'll get hers back. You'll spend the next 15 to 20 years thinking about yours from a federal cell." The elevator doors closed on my ex-husband's future. The moment the elevator doors closed, the room exploded into action. FBI agents swarmed Mark's corner office, boxing up computers and files. The general counsel was on 3 phones simultaneously, likely doing damage control with investors and media. William Harrison approached me personally, extending his hand. "Mrs. Smith, what you did today took incredible courage. The company owes you a debt of gratitude." "I just wanted my daughter's college fund back," I said, suddenly exhausted as the adrenaline faded. "You'll get it. The company will ensure full restitution immediately, regardless of how long the federal case takes." He handed me his business card. "Our legal team will be in touch. We'll also cover any expenses you've incurred pursuing this matter." A senior female executive hugged me unexpectedly. "My ex-husband did something similar, but I never had the evidence to prove it. You're a hero to every woman who's been financially abused." Another woman pressed her business card into my hand. "I run a nonprofit for financial literacy education. We'd love to have you speak about recognizing financial abuse." My phone buzzed constantly, Rachel sending updates, Emma asking if I was okay, reporters who'd somehow gotten my number. Someone showed me their phone. But Justice for Olivia was already trending, with the arrest video at 2 million views in 30 minutes. The CFO, Mark's former boss, approached hesitantly. "Mrs. Smith, I'm deeply sorry. There were signs I should have seen. The board has authorized an immediate forensic audit of all financial operations." "Make sure you check everyone who reported to Mark," I advised. My daughter found evidence that at least 2 other employees knew about the shell companies. His face paled further. "We will, thank you." As I gathered my laptop, Agent Thompson returned. "Mrs. Smith, we'll need you to come to the federal building tomorrow for a full statement. Bring Emma. The prosecutor wants to meet your remarkable daughter." Outside the building, Emma and Rachel waited by Rachel's BMW. The moment Emma saw me, she ran into my arms. "Mom, the live streams are everywhere. Dad's mugshot is already on CNN's website." She pulled back, studying my face. "Are you okay?" "I am now." I hugged her tighter. this brilliant 12-year-old who'd saved us both. You did it, Em. Your evidence put him away. We did it, she corrected. I gathered evidence, but you had the courage to present it. You stood up in front of 200 people and fought for us. Rachel joined our hug. That was the most beautiful takedown I've ever witnessed. Harvard Law is going to teach this case for decades. She pulled back, grinning. Also, Jessica's lawyer just called. She's giving up everything. Offshore accounts, other employees involved, even Mark's plan to flee to Dubai next week. Mom, look! Emma showed me her phone. A message from MIT's Ethics and Technology Journal. We'd be honored to publish your story of digital forensics and family justice. Reporters were starting to gather, having figured out where we'd parked. One called out, "Mrs. Smith, how does it feel to have caught your husband?" Emma stepped forward before I could respond, her 12-year-old voice carrying surprising authority. My mom didn't just catch a criminal. She showed every woman watching that financial abuse is still abuse, and there's always a way to fight back if you have the right evidence. Also, my dad underestimated both of us because mom's a nurse and I'm a kid. That was his biggest mistake. Rachel whistled low. Your daughter's going to be president someday. Or FBI director, Emma said seriously. After today, I know what I want to do with my life. Help other families get justice through digital forensics. Within 2 hours, the story exploded beyond anything we could have imagined. The video of Mark's arrest had 5 million views and climbing. Hatch Justice for Olivia occupied the #1 trending spot nationwide, with hashtag Emma the Genius close behind. Rachel fielded calls from every major news outlet while driving us to her office. Good Morning America wants an exclusive. CNN is offering a primetime special. The Today Show is actually begging. My phone showed 847 unread messages. Former colleagues, distant relatives, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted to know the story, but one message stopped me cold. This is what happens when you marry beneath your class. Mother. Mark's mother, who'd spent 15 years reminding me I wasn't good enough for her precious son, was still defending him even as his mugshot spread across the internet. Emma saw my face. Grandma Smith? Former Grandma Smith, I corrected, deleting the message. She can visit him in federal prison if she misses him. The Financial Times homepage featured Mark's corporate headshot next to the headline, Fortune 500 CFO arrested after wife and daughter expose 2.3 M fraud scheme. Rachel's phone rang again. It's the district attorney. Yes, she's here. Tomorrow at 9? Perfect. She hung up. The DA wants to personally thank you both. She's also recommending Emma for a Youth Achievement Award for her evidence collection. Mom, MIT just tweeted about me. Emma showed me her phone. MIT's youngest ever published contributor on ethics and digital forensics, Emma Smith, age 12, whose brilliant investigation led to federal fraud charges. A text from Agent Thompson. Mark's bail denied. Flight risk. Jessica flipped completely. We have everything. Looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. Your daughter's evidence is the strongest we've seen from a civilian, ever. For the first time in 6 months, I felt like I could breathe. The legal consequences came swift and devastating, for Mark. Federal judge denied bail, Rachel read from her laptop the next morning. Assets totaling $2.3 million frozen immediately. The company's lawsuit seeking $5 million in damages was filed this morning. The numbers were staggering but concrete. $180,000 returned to Emma's college fund within 24 hours via emergency court order. $500,000 in joint assets, frozen pending divorce proceedings. Mark's 401k, his precious investment portfolio, his crypto holdings, all locked down by federal order. The restraining order was approved, Agent Thompson informed us at the federal building. 500 yards, no contact with Emma until she's 18, no contact with you except through lawyers. The federal prosecutor, a sharp woman named Sarah Chen, laid out the charges. 18 counts wire fraud, 6 counts money laundering, conspiracy to commit tax evasion, RICO violations. With Jessica Walsh's cooperation, we're looking at a guaranteed conviction. Minimum 15 years, possibly 20 with the aggravating factor of stealing from his minor child. What about Jessica? I asked. 3 years in federal prison, followed by 2 years supervised release. She gave us everything: recordings she made of Mark planning additional frauds, evidence of 3 other employees taking kickbacks, even his plan to fake his own death in Dubai for insurance money. Emma's jaw dropped. He was going to fake his death? The $1 million policy on Emma was part of it, Sarah explained gently. He planned to have Jessica collect as the secondary beneficiary after his death in a staged boating accident. My blood ran cold retroactively. The man I'd shared a bed with hadn't just been a thief. He'd been planning something monstrous. Mrs. Smith, Sarah continued, with Emma's evidence and your testimony, Mark Smith is finished. He'll never work in finance again. He'll never have access to Emma. Justice doesn't always work this cleanly, but today it did. 6 months later, our lives had transformed in ways I never imagined possible. Congratulations on your promotion, my ICU director said, shaking my hand. Nurse manager Smith has a nice ring to it. The 40% raise meant I could afford our new apartment without touching Emma's restored college fund. For the first time in 15 years, I controlled my own finances, every account, every password, every decision mine. Emma's story had opened doors we never expected. MIT published her article on digital forensics and family justice, making her their youngest contributor ever. Google invited her to their Youth Innovator program. 3 Ivy League schools had already reached out about future scholarships. Mom, look at this! Emma showed me her laptop at dinner. The FBI wants me to speak at their youth conference about evidence collection. Rachel had become more than our lawyer. She was family now, joining us for Sunday dinners and helping me navigate my new financial independence. You know, she said over wine one evening, you're nothing like the woman who sat crying on her kitchen floor 6 months ago. She was right. That woman had believed she was just a nurse, not smart enough to understand finances, not strong enough to fight back. This woman had faced down a room of 200 executives, put a criminal in federal prison, and rebuilt her life from scratch. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael, the ER doctor I'd started dating. Unlike Mark, he introduced me as Olivia, the incredible ICU nurse manager who literally saved my patient last week. He respected my career, asked my opinion on investments, and had already bonded with Emma over their shared love of true crime podcasts. I'm proud of you, Mom, Emma said suddenly, not just for catching Dad, but for becoming who you really are. We became who we really are, I corrected, hugging her close. The justice system worked exactly as promised. Mark accepted a plea deal to avoid trial, 17 years in federal prison, no possibility of early release for 5 years. He had no choice, Rachel explained over coffee. Jessica gave prosecutors everything. She'd recorded their conversations for months, thinking she could blackmail him later if needed. The irony was delicious. The 26-year-old Mark had thrown away his family had been planning to betray him all along. Jessica's tell-all book deal was blocked by a federal judge after Mark sued from prison. Criminals can't profit from their crimes. She testified that Mark had 3 other affairs during your marriage, Rachel continued. All with junior employees. HR found payoffs to keep them quiet. Another $300,000 in embezzled funds. Jessica got her 3 years as promised, serving time at a minimum security facility in California. Her Instagram-perfect life reduced to a prison number and an orange jumpsuit. The other employees involved fell like dominoes. 2 junior accountants pled guilty to conspiracy charges. A VP who'd taken kickbacks was fired and faced separate charges. The company cleaned house thoroughly, installing new oversight systems Emma consulted on as part of her MIT project. Dad wrote me a letter, Emma told me one evening, holding an unopened envelope. You don't have to read it. She tore it in half. I know. He had 17 years to be a good father. Now he has 17 years to think about what he threw away. Mark's mother tried to visit us once, demanding to see her granddaughter. The restraining order extension covered her too after she screamed at me in the apartment lobby, calling me a vindictive bitch who destroyed a good man. The security footage of her meltdown went viral, adding to Mark's humiliation. From corporate CFO to federal inmate 47293-008. That was Mark's entire legacy now. A year later, Emma and I sat in our cozy apartment, preparing her application essays for summer programs. She'd received a full scholarship to Google's youth coding camp and had her pick of opportunities. "Mom, should I write about Dad for my MIT early admission essay?" she asked. "Write about you," I advised. "About your strength, your brilliance, your integrity. He's just a footnote in your story, not the main chapter." I'd learned so much in that year. The red flags I'd ignored for 15 years seemed so obvious now. Financial secrecy, controlling behavior, constant belittling of my career, isolation from friends who questioned him. I shared these lessons at support groups for financial abuse survivors, helping other women recognize the signs. "You know what the biggest lesson was?" I told the group one evening. "Abusers count on your self-doubt. Mark told me I was just a nurse so many times, I started believing it. But nurses save lives. We make split-second decisions. We manage complex medical situations. We're not just anything, we're essential." Michael had proposed last week, but I'd asked for time. Not because I didn't love him, but because I needed to be sure I was choosing from strength, not need. Emma approved. "Take your time, Mom. We're good on our own." We were more than good. Emma had her future secured with a restored college fund and scholarship offers. I had a career I was proud of, financial independence, and hard-won wisdom. We had each other and a chosen family in Rachel and the community of survivors we'd found. "Mom," Emma said one evening, "I used to wish Dad was different. Now I'm glad he showed us who he really was. We're stronger without him." She was right. Mark had meant to destroy us. Instead, he'd freed us to become who we were meant to be. Today marks exactly 1 year since Mark's arrest in that boardroom. Emma, now 13, just completed her internship at a cybersecurity firm that specializes in financial fraud detection. The CEO personally mentored her, calling her the future of digital forensics. I've spoken at 15 conferences about financial abuse, reaching over 3,000 survivors. The support group I founded has 847 members across the country, each sharing their story and finding strength in community. We've helped 47 women gather evidence safely and pursue legal action against their abusers. Last month brought unexpected vindication. Mark's appeal was denied, with 2 years added to his sentence for perjury when he lied about additional hidden assets during the plea deal. 19 years total. Emma will be 32 when he gets out. The company Mark defrauded recovered $1.8 million and donated $500,000 to domestic violence prevention programs in what they called the Olivia Smith Initiative. His former office is now a wellness room for employees dealing with stress. This Christmas, I received cards from 47 women whose lives changed because our story gave them courage to leave. One wrote, "You showed me that evidence is power, and power is freedom." Emma and I are writing a book together, part memoir, part guide for recognizing and escaping financial abuse. The advance will fully fund her MIT education. Through this journey, I've identified 5 critical red flags of financial abuse that every person needs to recognize. First, financial secrecy. If your partner hides accounts, refuses to share passwords, or makes you sign documents without explanation, that's not protection, it's control. Second, career belittlement. Anyone who consistently diminishes your profession, whether you're a nurse, teacher, or CEO, is trying to erode your confidence and independence. Third, isolation from financial decisions. You should understand every account, investment, and debt in your name. "It's too complicated for you," is abuser language. Fourth, sudden behavioral changes around money. New phones, deleted messages, Mysterious meetings. Trust your instincts when patterns change. Fifth, using children as financial pawns. Threatening college funds or inheritance to maintain control is abuse, plain and simple. Resources exist. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, has financial abuse specialists. Document everything: emails, texts, bank statements. Store copies with trusted friends. Your local women's shelter can provide legal referrals even if you're not ready to leave. Most importantly, you are not just anything. You are enough, you are capable, and you deserve financial transparency and respect. As Emma says, evidence is your superpower. Use it. Use. Family isn't about blood, Emma told me last night as we looked through MIT's acceptance packet. It's about who shows up when everything falls apart. She's right. Rachel, who dropped everything to help us. Agent Thompson, who still checks in monthly. The women in our support group who've become sisters in survival. Even Michael, who waited patiently while I learned to trust again. That's our real family. Emma plans to become a forensic accountant specializing in financial abuse cases. Dad taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, she says without bitterness. He showed me exactly who I don't want to become and exactly why this work matters. Mark took $180,000, but he gave us something priceless: freedom from his poison, strength we didn't know we had, and a purpose that's helped dozens of families escape similar situations. In his 6x8 cell, I wonder if Mark thinks about the 4-bedroom house he traded for greed, the family he destroyed for a 26-year-old who betrayed him instantly, the respect he sacrificed for money that now pays restitution to his victims. But mostly, I don't think about Mark at all. We have a future to build, Emma and I, and it's brighter than anything I imagined when I was just a nurse married to a monster. If this story resonated with you, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear that escape is possible. Comment below if you or someone you love has survived financial abuse. This community stands ready to support you. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories of justice, survival, and triumph. Remember, you deserve financial transparency. You deserve respect. You deserve freedom. Document everything, trust your instincts, and never let anyone tell you you're just anything. Thank you for listening to our story. May it give you strength to write your own.